you also said, which I believe completely, when you open yourself up to the world, you open up yourself to possibilities. And a lot of people inhibit themselves from even feeling that audacity, that. What do you mean by that, and what advice would you give on that?
I always feel like, opening ourselves up to the world, and we can think about it in many ways. It could be like, if you're an immigrant, it's opening yourself up to the world. You open, you are in a new country, you left a lot from your past life. You're in contact, but you left it behind. You open yourself up to the world by learning a new language. You open yourself up to the world by learning a new skill. You open yourself up to the world by doing things that make you feel excited but make you feel frightened as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give you an example. There was one time when I was invited to a conference, and usually when I go to a conference, this was like 5 years ago or so, or six maybe. Usually, because I'm a journalist, my role is to moderate panels or to do something that is really scripted. I don't really need to share much of my story or anything like that. But in this particular conference that it's called We All Grow, there was an activity called Storytellers. And I signed up for that activity. And when you commit to something, and then they tell you yes. And then when the day comes, you say, why on earth did I say, why on earth did I sign up for this? Okay, so the activity was to go on a stage. There were like 500 people, and to share a personal story. So as the day was getting closer, I started thinking like, why on earth did I sign up? And I started having all these voices of insecurity and fear, like, hey, I'm going to share a personal story. I'm going to have colleagues there. There's going to be clients. How is this going to affect my reputation? If I do it wrong, I'm going to expose myself to ridicule. So all of these things, it was like a parade in my mind, all these thoughts to sabotage myself from doing something that, I thought it was going to be meaningful. So at the end of the day, I wrote what I wanted to share, which was some stories of when I first graduated as a journalist, and the fact that it took me like 2 years to get my first opportunity, and I was unemployed for a long time, and that I felt that, that I was a total loser, a lot of things about down moments that I had in the beginning of my career, and that I never really shared them publicly before. And so 1 minute before going on stage, I had a moment of clarity, of realizing that this was not a test that I had to pass, that what I was about to leave was a gift from life, that I have a message, I had a stage, and I had an audience who was there to hear me for 10, 15 minutes, whatever that was. So I proposed myself, I'm not going to push myself to be perfect. I've never done this before, sharing these personal stories. I'm just going to be real. So I went to that stage from the Storytellers activity in Los Angeles in the We All Grow conference, and I opened my heart and I shared this story without knowing that in the audience there was a literary agent. And the literary agent contacted me, and she said, I think you have a book there. And I was already writing all my ideas for a book. So imagine the synchronicity.
Yeah.
3 months later, we get and she starts working. 3 months later, we present the proposal to HarperCollins Espanol to do the book in Spanish, and they approve it. The book comes out, it came out 3 years ago. It's called El Círculo Virtuoso, and it debuted number one in 3 Amazon categories, in business, in self-help, and in inspiration. And I wanted the book in English as well, but it didn't happen at the time. And I was knocking doors and begging people, please, this book did so well in Spanish. Why don't we have it in English? And I knocked doors, I knocked doors, I knocked doors. Nothing happened. And then I moved on to the next things. And the day I least expected it, the publishing house called me that there's this division called HarperCollins Leadership, and it's mainstream and it's global. And they never published any book by a Latina, and they wanted to publish the Virtuous Circle, El Círculo Virtuoso. And it was originally set to be released in June of this year, and then the pandemic hit. And so it was moved to January of 2021, January 5th. And I'm thinking, how aligned is this? My book talks about unemployment. My book talks about being a small business owner in hard times. My book talks about overcoming recessions in Argentina and in the United States. My book talks about so many things that are so much more relevant right now, and they're going to be so much more relevant in January, where everybody wants to, oof, 2020, we're ready to turn the page here. We all are. So sometimes that's why I say, when you open yourself up to the world, which was what I did that day, it was a very small step, but was a brave step, going to that stage, sharing a story of my life. And then there was a domino effect that I could not anticipate, and that's why I always tell people, you have to take that step, because you never know what's going to happen once you take that step. And it could have been that nothing happened. And it could have been that I just went on that stage, I shared my story, I did something that I was scared to do before, and I already won, even without a book, even without a book deal, even without anything, because I overcame something that before was a possibility that I would not consider, because I was too scared of ridicule, too scared of doing it wrong, too scared of hurting my reputation. And that was the lesson, sometimes, not taking any risk or not wanting to take risk is the riskiest move at all that you can do.